Hello and welcome to ABW Radio Live. I am your host, Chris, as usual. I don't change, sadly. I don't get any better looking either. I'm joined by three guests this evening, as per usual. First of all, I'm joined by Mr. Tom Canton. Good evening, Tom.
Hello.
Hello. Also joined by Mr. Welsh. Evening, John.
Hello.
And I'm also joined by another debutant. We give more debuts than an Arsenal under-16s 11. Actually, make that the first team. Stevie Hall. Good evening, Steve.
Good evening, gents. Sorry, I've got to mute the YouTube on this. I'm all good now. Thanks for having me.
No worries. That's called doing a Gimli in the trades.
Yeah, that's what I've
done. Right. Before we get into today's game, Stevie, why don't you just tell us a bit about yourself, how you got involved with this tiringly frustrating club, and yeah, just a bit about your affliction for the club.
Yeah, so I'm a lifelong fan. I suppose everyone says that, but I suppose I've been supporting them since I can remember. We had some season tickets as kids. Used to go to the Arsenal soccer school and things like that. So it's always been around, and yeah, I mean, here we are, 27 years later, still talking about the ups and downs of it. So yeah, but you know, I'm quite the optimist. But I suppose we'll get on to tonight in a sec.
Yeah, if you're optimistic, you'll fit in with me. Probably
yeah,
not.
I will,
with
Chris. Trust me.
And you're based in the UK. You're based in London as well.
Yes, so I was born in Kentish Town, so that's probably the North London where that came from. Now I'm just at the top of North London in High Barnet.
All right, right in the epicenter of Arsenal country. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, well, thank you for joining us. Let's sort of jump straight in at the deep end then and get some initial thoughts. John, I'll start with you. Initial thoughts on today? Keep them clean.
I'm convinced I'm a jinx. Whenever you ask me on the radio, that we just play badly now, so it's just so people can hear me moan.
It's all you.
It's always all about me. I don't know. It's typical Arsenal performance. You know, 1-0 up, kind of cruising, looks good. Just sort of waiting for the second goal, and then we go and give away a really bad, stupid goal, near enough bang on half time, and it just gives the other team all the confidence, and they can then come out second half, start playing well, and our heads just went. It looked like, if anything, Norwich were the more likely team to score in the second half. Just really disappointing, especially after the West Brom game as well. You know, you want to get back on track in the league. It's not like we'd be tired or anything from the Champions League. We had a comfortable win midweek. We didn't have to travel, so yeah, I don't know, just lackluster and just really disappointing from pretty near enough every player on a pitch, bar one or two.
Yeah, Tom, pick up on what John was saying there. Anything you want to add to that, or anything you want to bring up?
Yeah, it's just I'd partly feel that the midweek game you can put it into it and say that Norwich were more ready clearly than we were. They had probably a better game plan than we did, and most teams we come up against do have a better game plan, and that's when they go into matches when we play anyway. So it was a frustrating game, and we didn't threaten as we've been doing in the recent matches, like against Dynamo Zagreb. We created plenty of chances and broke the line and carried on. Where we actually let them get back into the game after we scored, which is a bit frustrating, especially like when we've lost Coquelin. You think the likes of Flamini want to step up and replicate how Coquelin's been playing, but clearly you can see the gulf in class between those two players and the effect they have on the game. And then when Sanchez went off, it was like we didn't really know what to do anymore. So that's pretty much how it went down.
Yeah. More on injuries and stuff in a minute. Stevie, what was your thought? Did you watch it on the box from home, or did you go out somewhere? Or
Yeah, I just watched it on telly. It does feel like a loss because of just the manner and you know, as the guys were saying, it was when Alexis went off, we lacked bite, and I get why Chamberlain came on because he wanted to sort of replicate that again. But obviously Chamberlain's been away for a few weeks. It just seems like a loss always comes with like added bonuses for us. It seems like we lose players. And well, I say loss. I know we managed to get a draw out of it, but and it feels like now we're getting a couple of players back. However, we got two back maybe, Chamberlain and Ramsey, but now we're possibly looking up to 3, 4 that are now going to be out instead. You know, the upside of it is that we're still in amongst that top position. Thanks to other teams not doing so great. But then, if I feel like if Chelsea were their normal selves, if City were a bit more consistent, if Klopp maybe were at Liverpool since the start, we could have been in a lot worse position. And as I say, I'm normally pretty optimistic about things. So, but as I say, same old. It's injuries that are doing us in, I think, a little bit.
Yes, good points. Good points. I definitely agree with the point that it's a good job that there's so many poor teams in the Premier League right now.
Yeah.
Because we'd be, I think we'd probably be in our I say our usual. That sounds harsh. Our fight for fourth would probably be more on the agenda than what is currently. But okay, let's start with the first half then. Tom, I'll come to you. First half performance then, it was a bit of a kind of a, I don't know what the word to describe it is really. It was just a pretty average, dull first half, in truth. But we did come in, or we did take the lead, I should say, with Mesut Ozil's goal. When we went one up, do you think it was a justified lead, or do you just think it was kind of like the only chance we really had, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think the way that we actually got the goal, it seemed that was the only way we were going to score at that time, is through some mistake that happened through the Norwich ranks, and that's certainly what we got. I mean, the goal, Alexis makes a great pass, but Ruddy should be clearing that easily out from there. I mean, both goalkeepers, they made a couple of decent saves, but there were moments where the defences and the communication between both defence and keeper didn't really go to the best of their capabilities. But it was a great finish from Ozil. If you want to move on to the positives and the goal that we can actually identify, it was a great finish. We've been saying he needs to add more goals to his game, and he certainly did that. The finish was a deft flick over the keeper, and to be honest, Ruddy probably should have stopped and not rushed out like he did. I mean, Ozil, even on his left foot, isn't the best striker of a ball, and if he's being pushed wide anyway, he's going to have to take a few more touches, and you can probably get a better save from closer range. But he came out and he took advantage of that and got the finish. But no, we didn't look like we were going to score, and then when they scored, it all went to normal. Oh, we've just conceded, and it had reminiscence of the West Brom match when they equalised there. So a lot of similarities to be drawn, but not too many positives.
Yeah, absolutely, John. We wanted more goals from Mesut. Well, I say we. I mean, the manager said that he thinks he can add more to his game, and he has identified goals. He got another one today. Do you think that's going to prove sort of vital in the long run for him becoming almost like the Freddie Ljungberg of yesteryear? That break into the box, and that was a very composed finish. Do you think that's an avenue that we need to look for more goals now, particularly in light of today's injuries?
I want to see more goals from him. It just adds another dimension to our game. Like Tom said, I think Ruddy was at fault. I mean, it was a really good finish from Ozil, but I don't know why the goalkeeper's running out there when he's clearly going wide and going to be forced wide by the defenders. That was just bizarre. I thought Ruddy was awful all day. But it's something we need in the team because we've relied, since we've had Sanchez and Ozil, we've relied heavily on Alexis to get goals, and if he's not, then it's Giroud or whoever is playing up front, and no one else really seems to get the goals. Then Ramsey had that spell, obviously, but that was when the formation and the shape of the team was slightly different. So you want to see that more from Ozil, and he looks like he wants to score goals as well. He was, again, the form he's been in the last, 6-7 games has been fantastic, and he was one of the few players who I thought today could walk off the pitch with his head held high, because a lot of others didn't put in a performance like he did.
Absolutely, yeah. Just want to touch on what you said there. John Ruddy is an awful goalkeeper. Really is. Just so bad. And his distribution, I think that's about the 8th or 9th time I've seen him scuff a clearance, so good job, really. Stevie, one thing we haven't touched on, I mean, we'll kind of take this in order of appearances if you like, but very early on we lost Laurent Koscielny to a hip problem, back problem, bollock problem. I'm not really sure what it was, to be honest. But it causes us an awful amount of problems. What was your kind of take on that? It seemed really innocuous. And more importantly, are you confident in moving forwards with probably Gabriel for God knows how many weeks now?
Yeah, that's what's a bit strange, because we don't really know what happened there. A lot of people, especially when Gabriel had a little stint in the team, everyone was really, really quick to say, well, drop Mertesacker, put Gabriel straight in. And that's a valid argument, because Gabriel's a very good player, but there's definitely a reason why that hasn't happened yet, because remember, you take one defender out, you've got 3 others there, and they'll have a relationship with each other. Especially Kos and Mertesacker playing with each other now for quite a few years. And I do have a lot of faith in Gabriel, and you know, dare I say that the next few games maybe they're winnable. So if Gabriel can sort of slot in there and build up a relationship with Mertesacker, give a bit of confidence, because he did look a tad rusty tonight. So yeah, I'm confident he's good enough, but then I'm also hopeful that Koscielny's not, his bollock problem is not too bad.
Yeah, being of course I'm not a medical professional. I'm just sort of trying to make some sort of enjoyment out of another horrible injury. Tom, what did you make of the equaliser? Now, Stevie's beautifully segued that. A lot of people were calling for Gabriel to come straight to the side. I personally wasn't one, because I still think he's got plenty to learn. That's not saying he's not good enough. I just think he's got plenty to learn. I described that equaliser personally as League Two defending. I thought it was shocking. What was your thoughts on the equaliser?
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't. I think it was about positioning. What's really annoying is that you could take West Brom and think, like, you know, their goals are kind of well worked, but you know, the Norwich goal. It was kind of just very scrappy. Gabriel was, I think he was on the wrong side of him. He was hoping basically just to hook the ball away from him. And trouble is, it's 50-50. You get it away, if not, it's in the back of the net, because, you know, Czech has to rely on Gabriel to basically sweep that away. But unfortunately, it just fell to that Norwich striker, who apparently has had massive problems with Norwich and hasn't played all season. Of course, he's back on it against us.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Lewis Grabham, he's had disciplinary issues. Tom, do you want to add something to that?
No, I think Stevie's summed it up pretty well. I mean, it was. I agree with you, and it was League Two defending. I used to watch League Two defending season after season, but it's certainly, you could even argue, a lot worse than that. But at the end of the day, like I feel that he did. Just not to segue too much away from it, but he performed reasonably well when he did come on. He did the block Olsen's cross that played across that easily could have been 2-1 if he hadn't intercepted it. But I'm quite happy for him to come in and replace Koscielny while he's out. I think that he is a Premiership quality defender. I think he's an Arsenal quality defender that certainly can progress into one that is a lot better than he already is. Koscielny is a massive loss, and Koscielny is certainly better, but of positions that we have over the pitch where we have lost players, he's probably one of the better replacements in one of the positions that we have compared to other positions on the pitch. You look at the likes of Joel Campbell coming in and whatnot. So for me, I'm happy for Gabriel to play the next few games if Cos is injured, but obviously we have to wait and see this assessment on that anyway.
Absolutely. John, you're quiet. I don't like it when you're quiet. It means you're plotting. Tell me what your thoughts were on the equaliser, and why is it we can't defend such basic, in my opinion, such basic positions? I mean, he's again, this is not a throw Gabriel under the bus situation, but he's wrong side. He lashes at the ball that he can't reach. Just what's your thoughts really on the whole equaliser and the whole way we defend those situations?
I mean, Gabriel was obviously most at fault because that's just awful schoolboy defending. But you've got to look at Ramsey not pressuring the ball from the left, coming from Norwich's left-hand side. I think you can give him a little bit of a pass in the fact that if we had more players, he'd probably be coming off the bench in this sort of game because he's clearly not match sharp. Bellerin, I don't think, had a particularly good game either. Covering that position in the pitch, and Flamini in the middle, just letting a player sort of, get lit, not cutting the ball out. If Coquelin's in the team, maybe he cuts that pass out, makes up that bit of ground and cuts the ball out there. But it's just, I think the defence doesn't look as comfortable without Coquelin in front of them, and you've got players coming back from injury who aren't fit, and I think any other time wouldn't be in the side. The worrying thing for me was less than the goal itself. I mean, the goal was bad the way we conceded it, but a couple of times with set pieces, we were just all over the place, and it's been consistent this season. Every single time we've had a set piece, we've been really bad defending them. Norwich could have had a couple more goals today if they'd got their finishing or got onto the end of the balls. And the fact that still isn't being fixed is a real worry, because a better quality side would have scored more than the one against us today.
Yeah, all good points, all very valid. A couple of quotes from the manager this afternoon. He said on Alexis, we lost Alexis Sanchez. We don't know for how long. It's a big blow for us. Second half, I felt we had to dig deep to get through. We were a bit jaded, I would say. It's a fair point. And on Cazorla, when he was down, he got a kick in the knee. It got worse during the game. So that's good news. Let's sort of address the massive elephant-shaped creature in the corner of the room with a big fluorescent pink hat on called Alexis Sanchez. Tom, let's start with you. We'll go to everyone on this. It's probably a really simple statement to make, but this is a pretty big blow, is it not?
It's arguably just as big as losing Coquelin. I mean, he is the polar opposite in terms of how important he is at that end of the pitch compared to Coquelin at the other. In our recent matches, he's been the bright spark. I mean, 2 goals against Zagreb, the injection that he used in the game against West Brom, in the game that we lost, that he was one of the only players you could really see really trying on the pitch. And to lose him means that we're going to have to be playing Joel Campbell, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Ramsey, a cocktail of those three in our wide positions. Obviously, you're thinking that Theo Walcott might come back, hopefully, which would be a massive boost for us right now. And you can imagine that he'll be playing on the wing as well. But it's massive. He's our best player going forward, and he's all of our goals. And even though this season he's not been as prolific as he was last season, and there are reasons for that, but he simply is such a massive loss that it's going to be a massive struggle to try and replicate our form that we have been using when we've had him. I mean, if you compare it to the likes of City losing Aguero, it's a lot bigger than that because there's so much more quality in that side that they can replace. So in terms of the title race, it's going to be tricky.
Absolutely, Stevie. What's your thoughts on how we address this situation now? I mean, we'll cover the reasons why he was playing in a minute because I want to have a quick mini rant on that. But I mean, how do we address this? We've got a really busy calendar coming up now as far as Champions League finishing up and all the league games over Christmas. What's your kind of thoughts on how we move forwards with this now?
Yeah, I mean, as Tom was saying, we do heavily rely on him. It's one of those things. Even if he does have a relatively quiet game by his standards, you think how much he knackers that left flank down with the opposition. Just to have him there, he can turn a game at any time. I actually thought, he had one of his proper typical Alexis Sanchez type games against Zagreb, and I think maybe we'll maybe see him a little bit rusty going into Norwich. He looked even fitter. He was really breaking down the defence. He was bright. The other players clicked around him. Oz always had someone to pass to. And then, as the guys are saying, as soon as he went off, it just flattened. And I think that's what we're going to miss, is that sort of power. Because Chamberlain does have a lot of power, but then some of the time he just doesn't put it to good use. And it is good that we are starting to get players back, but as the guys were saying, we'll end up rushing them back into the team, giving them 90 minutes and then getting injured again. So it's a big blow, massive.
Yeah, I agree with that. John, I'm picking on you again. We seem
It's
to
all
pick
right,
on
I'm
you.
ready to moan.
I thought you might be. I could see you getting your moaning grooves on there. So now, as Stevie said previously, I'm positive. I like to try and look at things positively. This is a difficult one to look at. Now, I just want to play devil's advocate and just see what your thoughts are. Now, there are people that have said that he should have been rested, right? And I take that on board and I agree with that to a certain degree. The only way I can sort of put that on a different plateau or a different plane is to say, if he had been on the bench, for example, against West Brom, and we'd have still lost that game, how many people would have then come out and said, why on earth is he benching Sanchez? He's an idiot. I know which side of the argument you stand on, but what's your kind of thoughts on the whole situation of resting, not resting, etc.?
I think you do need to rest players. Resting Sanchez today would have been really difficult because of what we've got in terms of depth, which is next to nothing really now. The issue is that when you don't rest players and they play too many games, they are more likely to pick up these sort of injuries. The worst thing is that the manager came out and before the game even said he has a slight hamstring problem. It's probably not a good idea to play him, but resting him now maybe isn't the right thing to do either. What the fuck does that mean? Sorry? So what you're saying is he's probably actually injured. Actually, we kind of know he's a little bit injured, but I'm just going to play him anyway. Well, either come out and say, yeah, actually, he has got a bit of an injury. You know what Sanchez is like. He always wants to play. And to be honest, the other guys we've got on the bench just aren't up to it. Just say that, because he's already said it once this season. He's already said it in the Capital One Cup game where he said the players aren't good enough to be playing at this level. I know he was talking about younger players, but just be honest. I get fed up with the bullshit. It does my head in. And, if he isn't fit enough to play, then sometimes you're going to have to go, all right, well, I'm going to have to play Joel Campbell. I don't particularly rate Joel Campbell. I don't think he should be at the club. But if he's all you've got, then he's all you got. I'd rather Sanchez misses one game, gets a rest, can come back, have that bit of rest, and then be fitter for the next 3 or 4 than play, get injured, miss a couple of games, come back, he gets rushed back in again because we're so short of players. He plays for 60, 70 minutes, picks up another injury, and it just recurs over and over and over again. You see it happen with loads of our players. Ramsey, and the same thing will happen to him now because we're short of players. Ramsey clearly isn't match fit and probably shouldn't be playing 90 minutes. But he's going to have to now. And it's getting to that time of the year when you've got loads and loads of games, and what will happen, it will just get another muscle injury, and then he'll be out for another X amount of weeks. And you get the same thing with Oxlade-Chamberlain. And it's the same thing of not enough rotation and not enough squad depth. I know people say, oh, we've got, Joel Campbell, we've got the Jeff and all these sort of players. And yeah, some of them are exciting players I want to see, but they're clearly not good enough for the squad, otherwise they'd be playing. Which means he hasn't got the right depth in the squad. So that's the manager's fault. Now, he's come out today and said that Sanchez told him he was fit to play. Well, what do you fucking do? You're the manager. You can tell someone whether they're playing or not. It's not up to Alexis Sanchez. Sorry. Yeah, there you go. That's my first bit of moaning. Sorry.
Just jump in. Like, I back Wenger a lot, as people know. But John's completely spot on, and Wenger's made an absolute massive error. So while I completely remove my nose from John's arse just for a moment, he's just, I don't understand how he's played him in this game. He's spoken about the run that we've got coming up. He's spoken about the tough Christmas schedule that we've got coming up. We've got 4 games, including the West Brom game, which we lost, in which these should have been winnable fixtures for the team that we had before Sanchez arrived, which many of these players were in that team. And there are players that have come in that arguably are better than when we didn't have Sanchez back then as well. There are players like Joel Campbell, although I'm not a big fan, has scored against the likes of Swansea and put in decent performances when it's been called on him. He should be playing him. And then we've got Oxlade-Chamberlain's come back. I mean, he's just come back from injury, but we have Ramsey. There's no reason why we couldn't have played Cazorla, Flamini, Joel Campbell and Ramsey on the wing with Ozil in the middle and Giroud up front. And if it means having Sanchez on the bench, not even completely having him out the side, if it means that we're 1-1 with 20 minutes to go, which we could very much have been anyway, even without Sanchez to play the pass to Ozil, bringing Sanchez on for 20 minutes at the end of a match to try and win us a game is much far less of a risk than playing him for all of the game, which he probably would have done. I've never really seen him take him off. It's much less of a risk to do that than risking him for the whole game, and inevitably we've now paid the price, and for the next few matches where he could have been playing, he now isn't going to be.
Okay, so let me rebuff this briefly then, and thank you to @North Armory for this quote. Apparently the talk Wenger said afterwards was, I would have rested him today, but before the game he declared he was perfectly all right. Okay, now I would 100% understand people that would say, well, it's the manager's choice, blah, 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 blah. And I get that, I really do. But if you've got a player that comes to you and says, I'm 100% fine, or I am fine, and your medical staff have said, look, he said he's okay, we're happy to pass him fit. Because ultimately, I don't think it comes down to solely the manager. It's also got to be the medical staff who essentially will say he's okay. Now, there's a lot of old professionals. In fact, they were talking on Radio 5 on Friday.
Have we lost Kris?
Oh, what would be the argument then?
No, he's back.
Oh, he's back. You want to repeat that, right? You cut out.
Sorry, I froze then. I do apologise. I was just saying, so on Radio 5 the other night, they were saying that a lot of professionals were saying that they play through injuries all the time, that they're never 100% fit, that they've constantly got niggles, and their body is always on the edge, and they're always forcing themselves through injuries. So I'll come to you, Stevie. Do you think that there's an argument then, if the player has said he's okay, that the manager just has to go, okay, well, the player said he's fine. Our medical staff have not said any differently. I've got to play him.
Yeah, I'm a bit 50-50 on this. I think Wenger's invited a little bit of criticism on this one because it's sort of well known for the past week that Alexis was carrying this sort of hamstring niggle or whatever it was. Now, obviously, we all love and appreciate Alexis' passion for it. I think he would try playing with a broken leg. But I do feel like there should come a time where Wenger has to trust his instinct, because let's face it, we all had it in the back of our mind that this was going to happen. So surely he would have done as well, because he is the type of player to really aggravate an injury like that because of all of his last-ditch sort of chasing back. And so with this one, I do think it was something that we could have helped. As the guys were saying, maybe do bring him on for the last 20 minutes. In this period, he is struggling with a hamstring problem.
Yeah, it's one that will rumble on. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer, and none of us really know the truth behind what conversations are going on. And some people will say, well, it's up to the manager. Some people say it's the players. Some people say it's a bit of both. It's a really hard one to judge. But I want to just drag it back, kicking and screaming by the heels, to today's game. John, where does this sort of leave us? I mean, we never, once it was 1-1, I never really thought we ever looked like we could win the game, particularly when we lost Alexis. We never really looked like we were going to create anything. Personally, that's how I saw it. Obviously, Chelsea put us all to sleep earlier on. That was really exciting. 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. Leicester United drew. It was only really Man City that have made a move this weekend, if you discount Liverpool. Where does that kind of leave us? Is it almost just as well, we've just got to go again next week now?
Yeah, I mean, for all the doom and gloom and moaning, and I will still moan because I always get pissed off when we play badly and we were fucking awful. We're only 2 points off the top, and it is only November. The reason why I'm miserable is because the amount of injuries we've got, and I only see them getting worse. I don't see them getting better. Because we've got previous on this. We just get injury after injury. I know November is always a famously bad month for us. We never do well in it. But I don't see how, the run of games that we've been on, like obviously losing to West Brom and then drawing with Norwich. All right, 2 away games. But it's West Brom and it's Norwich. I'm sorry. I know some people have said, oh, Premier League, it's the toughest league in the world. Well, yeah, it is if you're sort of looking at the top 7 teams. The rest of them, I couldn't get... it's bollocks. They're not that good. They're not. I'm sorry. They're really not that good. We should be beating them, and we should be able to beat them with our second string. The quality in this league is massively overhyped. So that's what pisses me off. And if you don't win games like that, that's why you don't win the league. You can win your Man City away in your big games against Liverpool and Chelsea and whoever else you want. But if you don't get those points against teams that you are supposed to get points against, you do not win the league. Now, yeah, like I said, it's early, but we've got way too many injuries already. And I don't have any faith that the manager will go out and, say, get some cover in January if we are still struggling then. So, for me, I think I'm glad we're in the position we are in at the moment in the league, but I still don't see us winning the league this year. I don't see us contesting for it. United are probably one of the most consistent sides in the league, and they are awful. Absolutely awful to watch. And if anything, they probably look more like winning the league than any other team, just because they can defend. They've got Kris Smalling and Phil Jones, and they can defend better than we can. What a fucking joke.
I know.
Oh, I'm getting fucking wound up again.
just quickly on something you picked up on there. We, some of you know, we do another pod, and we were talking about we watch a lot of European football between you, I, and Tom, and we look at other leagues a lot of the time. And I think it is fair to say the point you made there. We do massively overrate this league and the players in it, don't we?
Hugely. It's ridiculous. It's great because of all the money and how many people watch it and all that kind of thing. Lovely. And there's some really good players in this league. But you notice that none of the top 5 players in the world play in this league, despite the fact they can earn more money in this league than anywhere else. And people go, oh well, it's Barcelona or it's Real Madrid or blah blah blah. But it's not. It's that we massively overrate the players in the league. We massively overpay for the players in the league. We massively overpay their wages for the players we've got in the league. If you look at, if you took every single player in this league and then try to build a world 11, I think you'd struggle to get many of them in it, to be perfectly honest. You know, how many players from Arsenal would get in a Bayern Munich or, you know, Barcelona or Real Madrid? And I know people go, oh, well, they're different to us because they've got X amount of money. Bollocks, we've got just as much money, maybe not as much as, say, Real Madrid in commercial terms, but we can pay stupid wages. It's nonsense. And then you look at what is... yeah, I'm on an Arsenal one, so I don't care. I can insult anyone I like. Norwich, West Brom, Sunderland, Newcastle, all these teams, their players are fucking shite. We should be walking all over them every single week.
Are you seriously saying you wouldn't take Gareth McCauley? I mean, that's outrageous, John. What kind of a statement is that?
Right, this is the weird thing. Like, Palace are an exciting team to watch in this league. Crystal Palace are an exciting team to watch. How does that make the league good? Scott Dan is a good defender in this league. Scott Dan is a good defender in this league, and it's a great league. We've completely gone off the game now on tap.
well, Tom, I want to ask you on this as well. I mean, do you think it's a difficult one because really what I think we needed to do today was exactly what Man United did at Watford. You know, they got pegged back and they still found a way to somehow fluke the win in a game they never really deserved anything from. Whereas if you look at the opposite side of the coin, Manchester City played pretty terribly yesterday. They started well for 20 minutes and then they sat off. Southampton got back in the game, but again they got the third goal and they killed it. I mean, are we overreacting? Maybe should we look at this and go, well, okay, we have got all these injuries. We did lose two of our key players today, and we still come out with a point. I mean, which side of the fence do you sort of sit on?
Well, if you want to use an example of how we should play it, you can look at us against Watford.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah.
I mean, like the games like that, or we knew what to do, and you saw that in a team where you didn't have to go all guns blazing in the first 10 minutes. Eventually, you just grind down the team. We've got a lot fitter players than they do, and you nick them in a defensive error, and that's what we should have done. I sit on the side of playing a tactical game, and as I said, not going all guns blazing. I think in terms of our title progression, I think every single week it's getting less and less likely. Not only due to the injuries that we're seeing, but to be honest, and as a big Wenger guy, I think that this is actually taking a bit of a mental toll on the manager, and decisions are being made incorrectly because of that. And playing Sanchez is one of them. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the group chat at the moment about it, but I want to play it straight. You buy players like Alexis Sanchez so you can win big matches and to improve the team, and so we're more likely to beat the teams like Manchester City, Man United, Chelsea. I just shouldn't have said that. Like I can't think of anyone else. That's about it. But yeah, so you buy those players to beat those teams. You should have enough in what you have else. If you need to rest one of your big players to beat the teams like Norwich, who are battling to stay in this league. But we have players that if they move somewhere else, they wouldn't be going to those teams. They'd be going to teams higher up in whatever league in the top 5 leagues around Europe, not to teams that are struggling down the bottom. And so we don't need to be playing Sanchez in a game that we can play without him and win. But going back to, because we have a habit of going off tangent at the moment, but going back to everything, it's like the title is becoming less and less likely. It's going to be a case of what happens in January. I slightly differ to John in the fact I think he will go out now, especially considering what we're facing, and do something, whether it's a loan or 2 or 7. I just need something, please.
Well, I'm going to give this one to Stevie. So I've finished picking on John for a change. I'm going to pick on Stevie instead. Steve, I don't want to turn this into ABW transfer special because, quite frankly, I would probably have to pull my eyes out and coat them in acid before putting them back in my skull because I just cannot be doing with it. But let's just briefly talk about where the squad is now. Now, my argument is, and I'm intrigued to get your views, my kind of thought on this is that the only position I genuinely think that, hands up now, yeah, we probably could have done with the central midfielder, and that comes from a man who quite openly said I was happy with Arteta, because I was, and I still love him to bits, but I'm willing to accept that the experiment for relying on him is probably a doomed one now. So how many players do we need to sign to curb this injury issue? Do we need to have 7 forwards and 14 midfielders and 27 centre backs? Where do you draw the line on this? Do you think that we should have a better youth production, or do you just think that we should curb to what everyone else says and just sign all the players?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I do, I was like you. I was pretty, if you used to say to me, absolutely every one of our current squad would be 100% fit throughout the whole season. Definitely think we could have put up a good challenge for the title. And that's providing Coquelin, Flamini, and Arteta stayed fit. Arteta is a tricky one. I think he's great having around the club, and in the changing room and things like that. He seems like a good leader in that sense. But as for on the pitch, I'm a little bit unsure about that one at the moment. I mean, especially if he's third choice. Even at first choice, he wasn't himself like he was a couple of years ago. So you imagine a third choice defensive midfielder coming on trying to keep up with, some. It's because our league is quite fast. So that is a worry. Flamini's not stayed. I mean, I think he can do a job for a couple of months. But if we're now talking transfers for the whole squad, I would be happy with just a DM, and it doesn't have to be a £30 million defensive midfielder. Just someone who can put in a tackle and can stay fit and is quite fast. I'm sure there's one we can get out there. There's that guy from Seville, I can never pronounce his name.
Chariak.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a release clause. I doubt we're shy of 20 million. He'd be a good bet. Defence, I don't think needs a lot. With Walcott, Alexis, and Giroud, I think we're all right up top too. So I think DM again. I sound like a broken record because I still thought we needed one for the last over many years.
I don't think you're alone in that, in fairness. But John, that issue aside, I mean, this is what's going to be very interesting over the next course of the next week. And when I say interesting on social media, of course, what I mean by that is hide and cover your ears and eyes, because it's going to be a shitstorm. But it'll be interesting to see what people's views are now, because a week ago we were all saying, well, I say we, a lot of people were saying Coquelin's out, season over, which was a massive overreaction. But now arguably our best player, or certainly level best player, is now going to miss, according to Dom, potentially 4 to 6 weeks, because it looked like a bad one. So it'll be interesting now. What do we do now? So are people going to change their mind and say, well, actually, no, we needed to get a striker in the summer, not a holding midfielder? I mean, do you just think we should have got both, or do you just think people just want too much now?
I think the midfielder was obvious. I love your optimism, Kris. I think it's great. I don't know how you do it.
I try.
Or what you're smoking, or whatever it is, to quote J.W. Henry.
Me and Jeff hang out together on the same fence. We love it.
You're drinking from the same cup, mate. But no, I think midfielder was obvious one. There was a question mark over top quality, tier 1, world class, whatever stupid fucking ridiculous phrase you want to use for it. Which is completely based on opinion anyway, and not fact. So everyone's got a different opinion on who's world class and not. But the serious letdown was the fact that Danny Welbeck was injured April this year, and they only worked out 2 days before the transfer window closed that he wouldn't be available basically all this season. That's either a serious mistake in the medical department, or they haven't let it slip until late on so they can cover up the fact that they didn't go for another forward. The fact that Campbell was obviously being sort of pushed out of the door to whoever was going to take him, and then, oh no, we haven't got another forward, so we'll have to keep Joel Campbell. To me, you just replace Joel Campbell anyway. I don't get that. So I think there was an argument for another forward. But okay, I'll go on I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say, yeah, all right, they didn't find out until 2 days before the window closed, so maybe they couldn't get one done in that short space of time. I'll give them that one. But the midfield one, that's just negligence. That is just that's the sort of thing you'd expect for a amateur football team, to be honest. It's pathetic. But the whole thing about losing Alexis, does it completely kill our season? I don't think it wouldn't if everyone else was fit. It's the problem.
Yeah.
Because if you had Oxlade-Chamberlain and you had a fully fit Coquelin and Ramsey and Walcott and stuff, you would go, yeah, okay, it's a big blow. Obviously, of course it is, because he's such a good player and he lifts the team and he gives so much. But you would go, yeah, all right, okay, up front, at least we've got cover. The problem now is that if Walcott comes back earlier than expected or is rushed back, do you then play him wide? Do you risk that maybe causing another injury to him if he gets played too early? Because then that means that you've got absolutely no rotation for Giroud up top, who we know from previously that if he doesn't get a rest at some point of the season, generally tends to tire and doesn't perform so well. And I love Giroud, I think he's great. But he does need those gaps in the season because he does work so hard for the team in everything he does. So without Walcott, he's got no rotation at all. But I mean, the whole transfer thing just fucking annoys me. We've got all that to look forward to in January.
Oh, I can hardly wait. I'm literally counting the days. I've got like an advent calendar. It's great fun, honestly. The very mention by Gim and Danny of the ABW transfer day deadline special just sent shivers down the back of my spine. I was like, oh god, not that again.
I think the main thing to come out of it, all the injuries today, is that I still think the injury to Coquelin long term is worse than missing Alexis.
Yeah.
Because I just think we've got better cover, albeit players coming back from injury. I think we've got better cover up front than we have in that midfield position. I don't think Flamley played particularly bad today. I just think we don't play the same way as when we've got Coquelin in the team. We push and pressure much higher up, and he doesn't wait to intercept a ball. He goes and makes the tackle. He pressures and forces it. He's proactive, and we win the ball. Yeah, we win the ball high up the pitch, and he can give it to Cazorla early. You can make the pass into Ozil or whatever, or can give it straight to Ozil. When you make things happen quicker, and it's the other team are on the back foot more when we win the ball back. Whereas with Flamini, it's a little bit more. Okay, we'll sit in a bit more. We'll win it deeper, or we're on our own half, and the other team's got time to get their defence back and get their shape back. Which I think that changes the way we've played, because when Coquelin was in the team, it was much quicker and much more fluid.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, as I say, I don't want to leave it too much on transfers because it's, you could sit here for years and talk about names that are not going to come, whatever. I mean, I do think we're in a position now where we're probably going to have to strengthen by bodies alone, whether that's the right names. And you know what will happen, even if we do sign somebody, it won't be the right person. So can't please everybody.
So I'm just could do a job there, Lance.
Yes.
Possibility?
Who's that?
Yeah, I do. Wilshere. Yeah, but again, the problem you've got then, Stevie, is again we're relying on a player who's only just going to come back probably in late December, early January, and it's an area of the pitch where he's probably going to get a lot more contact. I mean, Jack gets contact wherever he is because of the way he plays, but he's going to be relied upon, and I think Jack Wilshere this season, if we get 15 appearances out of him, I think we should thank our lucky stars, to be honest, because to rely on him to come back this quickly, and this is the other problem that we've got now, is that I think Dom's made this point to us personally, that you've got the rehab to factor in as well. It's not just these players are going to be out for 4 to 6. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain was scheduled to be out for 3 weeks, and he's only really coming back now after 5. So, it's you've got to nurse these players in. And I said earlier on in our group that we are now one serious injury away from Jeff René-Adelaide starting a game, or or Kieran Gibbs being the only option in midfield, or drafting somebody we've never seen play before, and that's the worry. That's a real worry, because as good as this lad Jeff looks, he's nowhere near ready for the first team yet, I don't think, personally.
Can I just say on Wilshere, quickly, I think that's complete nonsense that he can play that position. I know he's done it for England, but he's done it in nothing games against nobody oppositions, where all he's had to do is sit there and spray the ball about.
That's fair, yeah. That's
to be
fair
perfectly honest. I'd love to see him play number 10, but he gets chopped too much. I just think you should play him out wide and play him from the right. And when you did that, was it end of last season or the season before, he got goals and he created. And he's the sort of player today would have been great to bring on. Break down a stubborn defence. But we miss him and Rosicky big time.
Yeah, I was going to say Rosicky is the one that I was just about to say that actually goes under the radar, because we've missed him hugely. But I think really what we have to do now is we have to focus on what we have got, and then any players coming back is a bonus. It really is. I don't think we can sit here and go, right, well, it'll be okay because on this date we'll have this player, because you just can't think like that. And the only, I guess, if you can take a plus point from today, is that Ramsey's come through it seemingly without a knock, touching wood, and Oxlade-Chamberlain got 20 minutes and looked fairly good. I must be honest, every time I saw Hector Bellerin sprint down that right hand side, a small part of me was panicking. I just thought, Christ, if another one goes twang here, we really are in the shit. Tom, I want to look at the next couple of games. Sunderland at home next Saturday. We'll be here. Hey. Villa away the following Sunday. Then it's the big one, the Manchester City home game, followed by Southampton away on Boxing Day. Now, I'm not going to make the mistake we made last time when we went through fixtures and went, oh yeah, that one's 3 points there, 3 points there, because that's gone horribly wrong. But out of those 4 games, is it a question of just trying to come through it with a couple of wins and a couple of draws and not getting beat, or do we really have to look at winning all 4?
We can't lose the Manchester City game if we want to win the league. Even if that thought is still there, we literally cannot afford to lose that match. In terms of Sunderland, we have all the other games are must wins. If you wanna go through Southampton, I'd be happy if we got a draw there because we're awful there at the end of the day. And you want to be realistic. Everyone can go, oh, we should be winning every single game, and I agree with that point. But if I'm going to be realistic about it, I would take 2 draws against Southampton and Manchester City and 2 wins against the other ones. Because the way this season's going, everyone's slipping up against so many other teams. No one is hitting any real particular form. People go to Man City, well, they lost at home to Liverpool 4-1, who we drew 0-0 with. Mm-hmm. So you got to think about it realistically, and you got to say, you can't go all mad and moaning saying, oh, if we lose to Southampton, oh, that's season over, like people are saying our season's over, which is completely utter rubbish. But the most important thing is to take every single game as it comes, not really to look ahead so far. And because I think partly to do the fact is the players might have got a bit distracted with the thought of winning the title, and we've forgotten to take every game step by step. And that's what we need to do at the moment, and especially when we come up against a team like Sunderland when we must beat, we've got to treat every game like that's it, that's the only thing that matters right in this moment, and just get the 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely. Callum in the chat has just put good news. Cos and Cazorla are just knocked, should be back for the weekend, so we'll probably see them in February, so that's good. I think you're right, Tom. Just out of curiosity, I'm just looking at the next fixtures for the 2 Manchester clubs. Now, I'm not discounting Leicester, and what they're doing is fantastic, and hats off, but they're not going to win the league. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Spoiler alert, guys, they're not going to win the Premier League. But Stoke away from Man City next weekend, then they're at home to Swansea, then they come to the Emirates, and then they're at home to Sunderland, followed by Leicester away. So Man United are home to West Ham, away at Bournemouth, home to Norwich, away at Stoke, home to Chelsea. So I'd say arguably they've got the more comfy fixtures. I'm not going to look at Spurs fixtures because fuck them, basically. And they're not title contenders. I don't care. I refuse to accept that they're title contenders ever. So it's not going to happen. So let's look at where things are with regards to the sort of the next 2 weeks, John. What do you prioritise now? Do you prioritise that Champions League match, and do you look at I can't believe I'm going to say this, resting some players, who I don't know, or do you continue to hope for the best? And it is going to come down to luck now because, again, as a few people have said, we're now going to have to play the players we've got, or we're going to have to risk players that we don't really know a lot about coming in and doing a job. But the risk is, if we keep playing the players that we've got left, are one of those going to go twang and we lose another one? So what would you prioritise now? Would you prioritise that Champions League game, or would you say, no, it's got to be the league?
Well, what have we got? Was it Saturday, Sunderland, and then is it Wednesday, Olympiacos?
Yeah, Sunderland, Olympiacos, Villa away, yeah. We literally would, if we had like 2 more players, then you could rotate a couple of positions. You've got to go for the next game. You just play to win the next game. I don't think. I don't think you can go into it trying to prioritise one game over the other or one competition over the other. I think you just have to play the Sunderland game and then see what your players are like after it and who's available. And then go to Olympiacos and try and win. Because that does nothing for the team going out of the Champions League. I know some people will say, oh, well, it's less games to play. Well, we don't play another game in it if we go through till February. By which point, if we haven't sorted out our injury problems, we're not going to win the league anyway. So it doesn't really matter. If no one's back until February, then it's all right. It's like, oh, okay, well, the league's gone. Let's go for the Champions League. So I think you just have to take each game as it comes, and it should be that anyway. I can understand maybe
prioritising for like a Capital One Cup or whatever it's called thing now, one of those games, or maybe the FA Cup, depending on the opposition. But Champions League or Premier League, I think you just have to go and try and win every game. And the fact that Olympiacos game is either side of a home game to Sunderland and then away to Villa on, is it the Sunday?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. It's the 1:30 kickoff, but it's Villa, and they are awful at the moment. And then you've got 8 days to the Man City game.
Yep. The Monday. Yep.
That should be enough time, a week, to have, if we've only got a threadbare thin squad as we've got at the moment, a week should be long enough to get everyone some rest and and then get them back fighting for the City game. So
should have to get back for that.
I'd hope so. I mean, if we lost to Sunderland, oh Jesus!
John, I'm going to say it now. If we lose to Sunderland, I'm going to move to the most remote island with no internet and no phone signal, and I'm going to weave my beard into my pubic hair. And
then Sam Allardyce will finally take over from Rafa Benitez at Real Madrid.
Yeah. And we'll get Owen Coyle as the next manager. Yeah. The world will be complete.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. I think that's unthinkable, but. What I would say to caveat that is, we're all sitting here saying, well, we can't afford to lose to Sunderland. They're going to look at it as well and think, there's a shot to nothing that game for them, isn't it? They've won the massive game.
It's that. It's the same with the Villa game. For them, it's a freebie as such in the position they're in. But they're games we should win. And I know you can't go into a game expecting to win. I'm not saying the players go into the game expecting to win the games, but we should win the game. We have enough quality in our team, even as stretched as we are at the moment, to win both of those games. I think even the Olympiacos away game, to be honest, we have enough quality to beat Olympiacos away with our squad the way it's stretched. The difficult ones are Man City and Southampton. And even Southampton, as scary as it is playing Southampton away, they've been pretty bad in the last 4 or 5 games. They're not in great form. So just take each game as it comes, and I don't think you can prioritise.
Yeah, I agree. It's a worry. It's definitely a worry. We want to invite listener questions in a minute, so I'm going to have a chat with Stevie. And while I do, if anyone has got any questions, then pop them in the chat box. And John, Tom, if you don't mind having a look out for the best ones for us. Stevie, just looking at sort of the situation with regards to the sort of the team and the setup now. I'm sort of in that halfway house of saying that maybe. If these injuries have got worse now, that maybe we might need to shuffle the pack a little bit in not so much the formation, but maybe just slightly changing our style. Maybe we need to sort of try and soak up more pressure and just change the way we're playing. Is that too risky at this stage of the season? Is a change of formation completely risky as well?
I think so. Yeah, I think we're in a position now which is quite. We can't really. I think with the Olympiacos game, we have to go all out. We need to make sure we qualify. I think the effects of not could do us more harm in the long run. So I just think as a short term, we need to go all out on that. As strong a team, as strong as 11 as we can. Perhaps if we do need to rest one or two, and I still think Sunderland and Villa. You remember, it's. Allardyce can be, historically a bit of a git when we've played him, and there's Remy Gard for Villa as well. We forget who's got some old relationship with us, so he may go all out. And I just think every game at the moment is going to be quite difficult. But I think, as I say, the short term Olympiacos, we just have to make sure we get out of this and not get into Europa.
Yeah, there's a just suddenly come to me actually. There's a kind of a side plot, with this whole Champions League thing, which I don't think a lot of people have thought about. In fact, it's only just come to me. But if you're trying to attract players in January, you're going to stand a lot more chance of getting a bigger player if you are still in that Champions League. However unrealistic it is to win it, which I think we all know it fairly is pretty much. But you are going to attract a better quality of player, and also I think it does give the board probably an excuse not to spend money if we're not in that Champions League. So that is, I do agree. I think that's really important.
Yeah, as well. Like, so someone said to me that day, well, why are you so desperate to get through? It's not like you're going to win it. Well, of course it's not the case. It's just
Yeah.
don't want to be in Europa. It's
Exactly.
fine. Get
And
battered by Real
you've got to,
Madrid.
and you've got to have ambition. I mean, I've said all along, if you're not in it, you can't win it. If you're in it, you can. You literally can stink up the joint and somehow win a tournament. Just ask anyone from Greece about that. It can happen. So, or even ask Mr. Mourinho about Porto all those years ago.
I mean, look at the way Chelsea did it as well. They crawled and scratched their way to that final. I mean, we got to a final with Senderos, Flamini, is it Abue and
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think Arsenal are ever going to change their situation to be George Graham-esque flat back four and defend for their lives. I really can't see that happening under Arsenal, but you never know.
Yeah.
The first question I'm going to go to actually is a really good question, and I saw it. I'm glad John picked up on it from Stan the Man, and he said, "How the fuck did Bennett not get booked for throwing Alexis into the hole?" I think he makes a really good point there. Not so much about the booking, but we saw this happen to Matthew Debuchy against Stoke. I think it was on Arnautovic. This has to stop. This has to stop now. I mean, referees are their duty on the pitch is to observe the game and make sure that the laws of the game are observed. They're also there to protect the players' safety. And as much as people say, "Oh, the camera shouldn't be near the pitch," they are always going to be near the pitch. And that could have been, ironically, he's got injured anyway, but that could have been a really serious injury. John, do you think referees do enough to protect the players, or do you think they are kind of a bit, well, that's nothing to do with me, and just put their hands in the air about it?
I think referees get a bit of a bad rap because they can't see everything. I think that one was pretty fucking obvious.
Yeah.
I don't think it's some people calling for a red card. I don't think it was a red card. I don't think he intentionally went, "Oh, look, there's a hole there with a cameraman in it. If I push Alexis at this point, he's going to fall down the hole." I think it was just I can give him a little nudge here and just try and wind him up a bit. The fact that cameraman was there was just coincidental. It is annoying. It happens a lot in the Premier League. If you watch... It's weird. In certain other leagues, in some leagues you see it, and other leagues you don't. And it's almost like there's more respect for players in the way, like, if they're going to foul you, they will just kick you as hard as they can. They won't push you whilst you're in midair when you've got no balance and whatever. And the same with the Arnautovic one on Debuchy. It was stupid and it was reckless, and yeah, it's a booking. I don't think he went with the intention of, I will push him as hard as I can so he lands on his shoulder awkwardly and dislocates it. That's not his intention. I think if you asked him and he was honest, he's like, no, I don't want to actually hurt the player. I just want to annoy him and give him a little knock and get him wound up and maybe he'll react, that kind of thing. But it's frustrating. But equally, I could also, if I was a Norwich fan, I'd be pretty pissed off for not getting a penalty today because Matthew Flamini's, I'm going to jump in your back of your head with my stomach and push you over in the box, flying tackle technique thing that he likes to do at the moment. It's quite interesting.
His way.
Yeah.
But hey, he's going to save the world, so he can do what the fuck he wants.
That is true. He is going to save the world and clean up the planet and throw an elbow in someone's face when the rest not.
Sorry, John. Callum also made a great point about saying that players are getting red cards for putting the hand in the face of a player and they're not getting any punishment for throwing a player off the pitch. Is ridiculous.
It is. I mean, I do agree with John. It's very hard to. I suppose the issue is how do you establish what's what's a deliberate shove and what is not. What I would say today is that the player knew what he was doing. I don't think for a minute, as John said, I don't think he was trying to injure Alexis, but he knew what he was doing in that he deliberately shoved the player into an unsafe position. Whereas Mesut kind of just took a really bad fall. That was I had to bring that up. That was pain. When it's like that awkward when like you see your dad dancing at a wedding and he falls over and he just sort of sheepishly looks around to see if anyone noticed, and Mesut must have thought, shit, I'm on TV. Ah, God.
Yeah, or if you're my age and someone says, hey, come back and play some six-a-side indoor football and you try and do a trick and you fall over your own feet.
Exactly, put the ball in your own net. Yeah, done that a few times. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's one of those things that I think maybe could maybe like a retrospective sort of action, whether it be maybe not a ban, but like some sort of fine or something like that.
Yeah, at the very least, a strongly worded letter.
Yeah, something like that. And something that's done public.
Yes.
Publicly, so everyone knows about it, and then the player goes, "Oh, okay, I can't do anything here because people are going to be looking out for me."
Yeah, that's the biggest issue. I think nothing was done about Debussy and nothing was done here seemingly. But yeah, interesting one. Tom, you've got two questions there. Give one to John and give one to Stevie first of all, and then the second one to John.
Okay, so let's be clever about this. Okay, so Stevie, everything rude, everything. It says, Tom, my question. This is in terms of Alexis before he got injured. Should we be concerned with the amount of games he actually scores in? Stat shows he scored in 12 games out of the last 42. Is that a bad or good?
Yeah, I guess it's quite a good question. I mean, I think it's what he does on the field. I mean, as I was saying earlier, to have him on, he completely knackers out. That's the side he's playing on. I do feel like this season, I think Jeff said it on the podcast the other night about he was losing it quite deep into our half. Sometimes I think that he should maybe look up a little bit more. He tries to want to do quite a lot himself. I don't think his goals are. I don't think that's a huge problem because I think as just an all-round player, he has to be on that pitch. He does link up well with others, and he's an engine, and people are afraid of him. And as well, you think of how many tackles he puts in for an attacking left-sided player. But I know a lot of them have normally come from when he actually loses the ball himself. But yeah, to have him involved start to finish is a must. I'm sure as well, you know, with our injury problems, you might find that he struggles to build up any relationship with players around him because he stays fit a lot. Others around him don't. So I think we may see the absolute best of Sanchez perhaps next year. And maybe, who knows, he could have a fully fit squad around him.
Yeah, no, I think you make a good point about the partnership because the only player you can really see him with is Ozil and Santi because they're the only two really that stay around him, and him and Ozil have actually had quite a good relationship. I mean, you see the goal that was scored today, just an example.
Exactly.
John,
The only good thing, just quickly, Tom, the only good thing, and I use the word good in very loose terms about Alexis being injured, is that now he will be forced to properly rehab. He will be forced to relax and do nothing, and that's the only good, you know, because he literally has not rested at all, has he, all year? I mean, he wasn't even supposed to play in the West Ham game, so you know, and then he ended up coming on in that first game of the season. So at least he'll have a rest. But sorry, carry on, Tom.
John, I'll steal one of your questions, seeing as it was asked for you. So Peter Graham says, John, Granit Xhaka, yes or no?
Yes, all day yes. Sadly, you won't get him in January because he's the Gladbach captain, and we're not allowed to have him. He won't leave. You might get him in the summer. The problem is that I guarantee that all the people who don't rate him will say he's too much of a hothead, which he is a little bit. I think in our league he'll get easily wound up, and it'll probably take him a few months to adjust. He's physical enough, but he can get wound up a little bit too easily, which is his only issue. But as a squad rotation player and someone to compete and push Coquelin on a bit further, and in for those hard away games, play him next to Coquelin, yeah, you'd love him all day long. And he's the sort of player today, and Coquelin is that kind of player as well, who, when Alexis got pushed off the pitch, he would have gone up and probably grabbed whoever it was around the throat, and maybe got himself sent off, but he would have got the rest of the team fired up and actually tried to protect his teammate rather than Alexis just sitting there going, oh, riff, and just no one else saying anything about it, or just sort of twiddling their thumbs, which really annoys me as well.
It's more likely, John, and you can probably say on this as well, I think it's more likely that we could see someone like Ozyakup from Besiktas, who Arsenal fans might remember from a long time ago. I think it's more likely that a player of his regard will be more gettable in January because he's at a lesser club, as you say. He's not a club captain, and he's certainly going to be cheaper than a Xhaka would be. You know,
I mean, Granit Xhaka wouldn't be lots of money because Gladbach don't have tons of money, but he was made captain this year, and they've got a manager now, and they still haven't lost under him. I'm sure some of you probably know I'm a Gladbach fan, so it's very, very, very unlikely that you get him unless you pay stupid money for him in January, which Wenger won't do. But yeah, maybe in the summer it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Anger a lot of people with saying Ozyakup, you know that.
Well, I mean, it's just the sort of player I can see him. By the way, he's twice the player he was when he left. So just in case anyone's panicking. But yeah, he's the sort of guy that would just probably come in and do a job. You know, I don't think he'd be first choice, but hey ho. At the moment, I think people would be happy if we signed Peter Crouch. Maybe not. Two more questions. John, do you want to ask one to Tom?
I'm trying to find because we've got a lot here. Redford Oakley asked, if we fail to mount a serious title challenge, will we struggle to add real quality to the squad through transfers and maybe risk losing players? I assume he means sort of key players like Alexis and Ozil.
Personally, I don't. I mean, we haven't really materialised a massive title challenge in the last few years. We've signed Ozil and Alexis, so I don't see why we wouldn't fail to sign players of that ilk anyway. We're a big club with what people say, a great manager who a lot of players find attractive to work for and be coached by. If we don't, in terms of Alexis and Ozil leaving, I don't really know where. I can only see Real Madrid coming in for Alexis maybe, because he's the only real Galactico winger you could think of that they could go for, because Royce is never going to leave Dortmund at the moment. In terms of Ozil, I'd Bayern Munich maybe, but at the same time, like, I don't see why they would leave. That they're looking at signing them, tying them down to new contracts. If they haven't, I would be a bit of weird if they don't sign contracts by the end of the year, because it has been talked about a lot in the media and even by the manager in some cases. So we'll have to see where that goes. But no, honestly, wherever we come this season, it's not going to have any effect on our transfer policy.
Okay, I've got one for Stevie from Naren Manzukani. I really hope I haven't butchered your name, apologies. Do you think Ramsey Flamini as the centre midfield pairing would work?
Yeah, I do think that. Whether Wenger would want Ramsey to do more sort of box to box, but then Ramsey was great as sort of the Ozil position. So I think Wenger just loves Ramsey being purely as offensive as he can be, because he had that time on the right where he wasn't doing great, but it feels to me like Wenger just wants Ramsey on that pitch to be in amongst attacks. I just cannot see him being put next to Flamini, to be honest, because I don't think the manager wants him to be at all defensive, because he's matured into such a good attacking player, to be honest. So yeah, I'll answer the question. Yeah, I think it would work because Ramsey can adjust his game quite well. But whether it would happen, I'm really unsure, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see it. Sadly, I think Ramsey could do it. He's definitely got the legs to do it. I'm hoping as he gets older, maybe that's the way that, say, Lampard used to do it and Gerrard did at Liverpool and Lampard at Chelsea. I think he's got that about him in his game. Just maybe needs more time to develop.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will hand back to Kris.
No worries. I'm just there's two very quick ones, so I want quick answers from both of you on this one, because Danny will shout at me and throw me in a cupboard and not let me out and feed me bread and water. Tom, quick answer from you. Stephen Kelly, if we do end up in the Europa League, oh God, do you see it as an opportunity, as a trophy, or a waste of time?
I don't rate the competition personally. I would see it as an opportunity to see how some of our younger players do, and by younger, Flamini, Arteta, do in a second-rate competition that's actually on a more competitive scale. Because and I say that, I'm trying to be as brief as I can here, but I'd say that because our youth system has been criticised of late, so I'd actually like to see players like Renadele and that Fortune and Crowley and Iwobi, and see how they did in a competition where it's actually more competitiveness going on rather than the under-21 league.
Yeah, absolutely. Gunanelli86, by the way, your last comment, I agree 100%, but I won't bring it up because people will shout at me. John, I'm going to give you and you and Stevie both a shout on this final question. Again, keep it brief because it's an excellent question. John Kakluskas, I hope that's right, Christ, I'm doing a Danny. Josh, sorry, not John, it's Josh. He asks, hope you can see this question through all the trash. With Theo supposedly fit soon, do you throw him back in at right midfield or up top as a centre forward? So John and Stevie, you can both have a quick go on that one.
I don't think you can. I'd love to see him play right again, because I think he played really well with Giroud when he was playing from the right hand side, and I think they were developing quite a nice little partnership. But the fact we have absolutely no cover for Giroud means you can't risk are only two centre forwards on the pitch at the same time. So I think you have to just play one of them, and that has to be one of them up top, and that's it.
Yep. Stevie?
Yeah, I think because with Alexis now sidelined, I think Walcott does have to now be on the pitch, whether it's Giroud. I think that him, Giroud, and Ozil have quite a good connection. You're forgetting it. If Giroud needed to drop deep, Walcott can always, play a part up top at the same game. I'm not sure, but I do think Walcott now at this time should be on the pitch on the right and keep Giroud up top.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. 100%. Okay, good stuff. Right, that will bring us to a close this evening because, we literally have had hundreds of questions. So I'm sorry we just can't get to all of them. But don't forget, there is a pod on Thursday. So if you've got any questions, ping the podcast account at the AFC Podcast to tweet, and I'm sure I'll do our best to sandwich it in. A couple of quick plugs before we go. The podcast, as I say, on Thursday. Not sure who's on or who's hosting at the moment because the Reverend is doing a concert with his band, and a few of the members might be going, so we're not sure what's happening yet, but there will be somebody here, even if it's just like white noise. There'll be something recorded, maybe Danny's bowel movements on an audio stream, hopefully not, but yeah, we'll be back on Thursday. ABW Radio will return after the game against Sunderland next Saturday. Our series on coping without cock, the blog series at the Bergie blogs. You can read all three of those. That's pretty much it, I think, as far as I know anyway. So yeah, thank you all very much for tuning in as always. Thank you very much to Stevie for making a exemplary debut, sir.
Cheers, guys. Been a pleasure.
And thank you very much to Tom, as always, Mr. Tom.
No worries.
And thank you, John. John's going to go and cuddle a pillow for a little while and just gently shout into it.
I'm going to go cry and then shout into an echo chamber.
No, you're not. You're going to go and watch Palermo Juventus like I am.
Yeah, that's true.
So thank you all very much for joining us. We appreciate it as always. You can catch us later on in delay or on SoundCloud when Danny can upload it because he's not very well at the moment. So good. Get well soon, Danny, and yeah, good luck to you in your recovery from whatever it is you're recovering from. So we will speak to you again soon. Thank you very much for joining us, and we're out of here. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.